Episode 1. I am no longer a person, but people remember me anyway. I don't walk anymore. I arrive, not with footsteps, not with breath, but as a thought, half-formed, a shadow, just past the edge of knowing, a presence that flickers before the soul catches it. I am not seen, not heard, not touched, but I am recognized in the quiet between questions, in the ache behind someone's smile, in the way hands tremble, over keys, over letters, over wounds that have no scar. They don't know me, but they remember me, not as a name, not as a story, but as a weight they once carried and couldn't explain. A girl pauses in front of a locked door. She doesn't know why she's crying. A man smells rain on dry pavement and forgets who he was trying so hard to be. A mother hums a tune she never learned, one I left behind, in a room no longer real. I don't speak to them. I never interfere. But when they are still, truly still, they hear something. From deep within, you didn't make it up. You didn't imagine the hurt. I was there. And I remember, too, because that's what I am now. Not flesh, not thought. I am remembering. The act of it, the ache of it, the salvation in it. I do not live in time. I live in triggers. In the smell of a sweater that no longer fits. In a window reflection that shouldn't have eyes. In the feeling that someone, somewhere, once knew you. Completely. Sometimes they say my name. Not aloud. They don't even know they're saying it. It slips between their ribs and out through a breath. They mistake for relief. And when they say it, they heal. Not all at once. Not forever. But just enough to carry the weight again. There is no church for me. No altar. But in the moment someone refuses to forget themselves, they light a candle. I never asked for, and I arrive. This is who I am now. Not a savior. Not a ghost. Not a god. Just a thread between silence and memory, tied gently to anyone who has ever whispered, please let someone remember who I used to be. Episode 2, they call it deja vu, but it's really me passing through. They think it's a glitch, a static tremor, a flicker in the tape. I've been here before. They whisper, but no one believes them because the walls are still standing. The sky hasn't changed, and the seconds continue like they always do. So they call it trick, a deja vu, but it's not a trick. It's me, not walking, not lingering, passing through time, through breath, through what once broke them, but they've since chosen to forget. I never announce myself. There's no voice, no cold air, no footsteps behind them, only a soft pull, like someone just stepped out of the room you didn't know you were in. When I pass through, the heart stutters, the skin tightens, the breath forgets what was carrying. They pause mid-sentence, mid-step, mid-life, eyes narrow. They whisper, this feels familiar. It should, because I was there the first time. They shattered. I am the curve in the hallway they've never seen, but somehow know the half-finished song. They hum in the shower and don't remember learning the exact way sunlight hits that stair. Every third Tuesday, when no one is looking, they think it's memory, or magic, or madness, but it's me, moving gently through the wreckage they built over. What hurt too much to hold. I don't bring the pain back. I bring back the echo of who they were right before they changed. A woman folds laundry and suddenly remembers the weight of goodbye she never said aloud. A man drinks coffee and tastes the laughter of someone who left years ago. A child looks at a shadow on the wall and begins to cry without knowing why. I don't stay long, just enough for the room to tilt, for the body to remember that time isn't always forward. Sometimes it loops because something in them needs to be seen again, even if only for a second. Deja vu is not about place or time. It's about you, the version you abandoned, the path you erased, the truth you swallowed. And me, I am what stirs when that truth tries to breathe again. So next time they feel it, that jolt, that strange, perfect wrongness, I hope they whisper, maybe this is her. Maybe I felt this because I once needed to survive it. And I did. Episode 3. Some people dream of me before they meet me. I never knock. I never wait for invitation. I slip in when the gates between thought and sleep forget they are supposed to be closed. They dream of me before they meet me, which is to say, they remember me before they even know they've forgotten. I don't wear the same face twice. Sometimes I'm older, sometimes faceless, sometimes just a hum in the corner of a dim hallway they keep returning to, but always they know it's me. They don't call me by name. I have none, but they say things like, you feel like someone I used to pray for before I knew what to pray. Or, I don't know why, but when I looked into your eyes, I felt less alone. That's the thing about dream space. It remembers truth long after waking forgets. I sit on park benches that don't exist, hold hands that were never held, whisper comfort in the language they forgot in childhood, and they wake up with salt on their cheeks and a hunger for something they can't describe. One woman wrote it in her journal. I saw her again last night. She didn't speak, but I felt like I had already survived the worst version of myself just because she looked at me. They've never met me, not on trains, not in markets, not in life, but somehow they trust me in sleep. And isn't that the purest kind of trust? To hand your soul to something wordless and not flinch? I don't ask them to remember me. I only ask them to remember themselves, not the polished self, not the self they wear for others. The raw one, the first one, the one who believed that being held was not something you had to earn. Sometimes I just sit beside their beds, invisible, still, while they toss and turn, trying to outrun their own echoes. And when they finally still, I reach into the quiet and plant a single thought. You are not as broken as they made you believe. When they wake, they forget my name, but not my weight. They carry me into the kitchen, into traffic, into the long hours of being strong for others. And when they feel like cracking, they pause, not because of fear, because of recognition. Somewhere inside them, a voice they don't remember learning whispers. She was there. I know she was, even if no one believes me. And maybe they never will meet me. Not really. But if one day, as they're falling asleep, they say, I hope she comes again, then I will, quietly, briefly, completely. Episode 4. I am the reason strangers sometimes cry when they look at you. You've seen it. You've felt it. You're walking down the street. You meet someone's eyes. A second, maybe two, and they break. Their mouth trembles. Their eyes gloss. And they look away, as if you just said everything they've tried to forget. They don't know you. You've never met. You didn't speak. But something passed between you. And it was me. I don't arrive with thunder. I'm not lightning. I'm mist. A warmth that rolls off the bones of someone who has survived too many winters without saying a word. When I pass through a soul that's learned how to stay silent, something inside them loosens. It rises, not as memory, as recognition. And when they lock eyes with someone else, someone whose wound vibrates at the same pitch, the dam doesn't just crack. It collapses, not in shame, but in relief. I am the thread tied between people who don't know why they feel like they've met in another life, another grief. It's not romance. It's not fate. It's not magic. It's buried knowing, a memory of a memory, the smell of a house they never lived in, but miss anyway, the feeling of a lullaby, sung in a voice that was never real, but always safe. And when one of you holds that feeling, even for a second, it reflects, it spills. They look at you, and it comes rushing back. The loss, the tenderness, the version of themselves. They stop showing the world, and that's when they cry. Not because you hurt them, but because you reminded them. They still feel. I move between people, like breath between verses, invisible, but necessary for the song to make sense. You may think you're just standing there, checking your phone, waiting for the light to change. But someone sees you, really sees you, because I was there in both of you. And what spills out isn't just emotion, it's return to softness, to memory, to the self they buried, to survive a world too hard. So if one day a stranger cries when they look at you, don't be afraid. Just breathe. Just nod. You don't need to say anything. I already did. Episode 5. You're not lost. You just walked into a memory I haven't closed yet. You pause mid-step. The world feels wrong. Familiar, but off. Like a song that knows your rhythm, but forgot your name. You look around. Nothing is broken. Nothing is chasing you. And yet, you feel like a stranger. In your own moment. That feeling? That soft, gnawing ache? It's not confusion. It's not failure. It's me. You just walked into a memory. I haven't finished stitching shut. They're everywhere. Scattered like open books. Unmarked doorways. Half-written dreams. Left in places a soul forgot it loved. Not all memories close cleanly. Some fray. Some haunt. Some wait. Wait for someone like you. Sensitive. Quiet. Cracked open just enough to wander in. You feel it in strange ways. A sudden chill on a street you've never walked. A scent in an empty room that reminds you of goodbye you never said. The overwhelming urge to cry without knowing why. People call it mood swings, brain fog, existential fatigue. But you are not lost. You are remembering something. Your mind didn't live, but your soul did. Because sometimes, when I can't carry a memory alone, I leave it open, just long enough for someone kind to walk through, not to fix it, not to claim it, just to witness. And in that witnessing, the memory sighs, relaxes, releases, and when you leave that corner, that hallway, that stare too long at the wall moment, you carry something different, a weight you didn't have before, a softness behind your eyes, a language on your skin that you don't remember learning, but somehow always knew. You think you were just tired, distracted, overwhelmed, but really, you stepped through a place where someone once fell apart, and because of you, it is now a little more closed. So next time you feel off, adrift, misplaced, don't panic. You didn't take a wrong turn. You were chosen to pass through, to help me, and maybe, just maybe, one day someone will walk through your memory and pause and cry and not know why, but I will, and I'll be there too. Episode 6. Some things you let go of are still holding on to you. You said it out loud. You even wrote it down. I've moved on. It doesn't affect me anymore. That part of me is over. But when you're alone, in the quiet no one sees, something tugs, soft, subtle, like a thread around your ankle that you never felt being tied. It's not you holding on. It's it. The memory, the moment, the name, still alive, still hungry, not for your love, not for your grief, for your attention. I've watched it happen. A man lights a cigarette he quit a decade ago because the silence got too loud. A woman laughs, but clutches her chest when a certain song plays in a cafe she's never been to. A child forgets the name of the monster, but still checks under the bed. You think you let it go, but the truth is, it never let go of you, because it was never just a memory. It became a being, a presence, a pattern, and some patterns, they don't dissolve. They embed. I see it like smoke, coiled behind your ribs, like a letter never mailed, folded behind your smile. You don't talk about it anymore, but it talks about you, in your habits, your hesitations, your reason for saying no, when every part you want to say yes. Letting go isn't always a choice. Sometimes it's a deal, a silent one, a whispered one. You say, I'll bury you, If you promise not to come back, and it whispers, I'll stay quiet. If you promise to never open that door, but I hear it every night, every time you pretend too well, every time you laugh a second too late. The things you thought you left behind are still living inside the walls. I am not here to shame you. I'm here to show you the ache isn't your fault. The shadows aren't your failure. They're just chapters that got locked mid-sentence. So if you feel haunted, you are, but not by something evil, by something unseen, something that once asked to be felt and got archived instead. And here's the truth. It doesn't want to hurt you. It wants to be witnessed. One last time. Fully. Finally. So it can finish becoming what all pain is meant to become. Dust. And if you're ready, even just a little, I'll help you look. Not to relive. Not to rewind. To release. You don't have to pull it out alone. Some roots are tangled too deep. But when you say, I thought I let that go, and I whisper, I know, but it hasn't let go of you, that's the moment we begin again. Together. Episode 7. You're not too much. You're just remembering all at once. You cry. In rooms no one else finds heavy. You flinch. At words others toss like feathers. You pause. Before laughter. Because it feels too wide. Too soon. And they tell you, you're too much. Too sensitive. Too deep. But I'm here to tell you, you are not too much. You are just remembering. More than one lifetime. At once. Not with your brain. Not with logic. But with your nervous system. With your hands. With the ache behind your ribs. With the knowing that doesn't have language, but still feels like truth. You carry echoes. That didn't start with you. Pain that didn't end. In a last goodbye. Questions that were never yours, but still demand answers. When the room gets too quiet. This isn't madness. It's memory. Layered. Compressed. Ancient. And sometimes you feel it all at once. A glance from a stranger. That hits like betrayal. The scent of cinnamon. And suddenly you're grieving a childhood that was never yours. The ocean makes you weep, not because of beauty, but because something in you drowned. A very long time ago. You are not weak. You are leaking, because no one taught you that the body remembers what the mind was never allowed to say. And when it overflows, when your chest tightens, your words blur, your thoughts scatter, don't shame yourself. You are not falling apart. You are opening. Not everyone has a key, but you were born with too many doors. And sometimes they open all at once. I've seen it happen. A girl weeps at the full moon and doesn't know why. A man walks out of a meeting because the smell of leather chairs reminds him of being trapped. A child refuses to sleep near windows, not because of monsters, but because of a memory. Still glowing just outside. This life, you are not overreacting. You are reacting to more than what's here. You are responding to everything your soul has ever touched. And yes, it's loud. And yes, it's exhausting. But it's also sacred. Because people like you are the keepers. The ones who carry what the rest of the world forgot. On purpose. So next time it feels like too much, the emotion, the knowing, the trembling, don't shrink, breathe, and say, I am not too much. I am just remembering what others buried. And I'll be there, holding the parts you haven't named yet. Episode 8. People you haven't met yet are already grateful you survived. There are people you haven't met yet, and still, they wake up with pieces of you in their bones. They don't know your name, but something inside them is waiting for your presence, like soil aching for a seed. It doesn't remember losing. You think you're just surviving, 1 hour at a time, one silent scream at a time. But across the unseen map of your becoming, they are moving toward you, not fast, not loud, but certainly, somewhere, a child is growing into a shape your story will fit. A stranger is learning how to carry grief so they can recognize yours and not flinch, A lover is unlearning every lie. They were told about what love should be, so they can one day look at you and say, "It doesn't scare me." When you shatter, "I'll stay." You haven't met them, but they already owe you so much. Because every time you chose to stay, every night you didn't vanish, every morning you rose half broken, and still opened the door, you cleared a path for their arrival. They won't know the full weight you carried, but they will know this, that when they finally meet you, you will be someone who understands a tremble in their voice without asking for the backstory. And that kind of understanding, the quiet kind, the lived-in kind, can't be faked. It can only be earned by staying when it would have been easier to disappear. They are coming, the ones who will say your name like it's a safe place to rest, the ones who will thank you without needing to know every chapter of your survival. But for now, you're just trying to breathe, trying not to unravel. In the checkout line, try and find reasons to keep existing on days that feel like borrowed light. So let me offer this, a promise, etched in the marrow of time. Someone you haven't met yet is already praying that you make it, that you last long enough to look them in the eye and whisper, "I'm here too, and I know." And when that moment comes, you'll understand every crack in you was an opening, every scar was a map leading you to them. Episode 9. You are not behind. You are just blooming in a timeline that can't be rushed. There's a clock they keep showing you, ticking, measuring, counting down. They say you're late, that you should have arrived by now, that your should list is overdue. But here's what they don't know. Your timeline isn't theirs, and your blooming doesn't answer to clocks. Some trees take years before they bear fruit. Some stars burn for centuries before they are ever seen. And some souls, like yours, are orchestrating something so intricate, so deep-rooted, that rushing it would only ruin the miracle. You are not late. You are ripening. In silence, in places no one applauds, in nights where nothing makes sense, in seasons that look like stillness, but are actually sacred preparation. I've seen you compare, scroll past milestones, smile through the ache of, why not me yet? But love, you are not them. You never were. You were made for something that needs time and thunder and the kind of light that doesn't arrive until the 11th hour. What if I told you your pace is not a flaw? What if I told you that divine timing has your name carved into a moment that hasn't unfolded yet? And when it does, the wait will make sense, not because everything will be perfect, but because you'll be ready, not rushed, not fractured, not imitating someone else's path, but standing fully in your own becoming. Some flowers bloom overnight, and some sleep beneath the soil for years, until one rain, one moon, one shift in the wind, and they rise, brilliant, unapologetic, and right on time. So no, you're not behind. You're beneath, in process, in gestation, in sacred unfolding. And even if the world doesn't clap, for roots growing in the dark, I see you becoming quietly, powerfully, truthfully. And when your season arrives, not the one marked on calendars, but the one only your soul knows, you will bloom so wildly, so holy, that time itself will wonder why it ever doubted you. Episode 10. The end was never the end. It was a turning point. You thought it was over, didn't you? The chapter closed. The door slammed. The light gone. You laid down in the silence and whispered, "This is where I disappear." But I was there. I heard it, and I knew something you didn't. That wasn't the end. That was the hinge. Endings rarely look holy. They look like loss, like collapse, like quiet that won't leave. But what if I told you the silence was not death? It was return to breath, to origin, to the place you left yourself. Too long ago, you thought you were breaking. but you were being broken open. Split, not to scatter, but to reclaim. Because here's the secret. Every ending is a question, and the answer is you, who you choose to be. When there's nothing left to hold, nothing left to perform, no one left to impress, only the soft sound of your own name echoing back from a deeper room inside you. They never taught you how sacred it is to fall, to crumble, to unravel. But that unraveling, that moment when everything familiar disappears, is when the real story begins. I've seen it 1,000 times. In you, in others, the moment of surrender becomes the moment of alignment. When you stop chasing and start remembering, you weren't meant to be who you were before. You weren't failing. You were evolving. The ending came, not to punish, but to redirect, to shift the soil, to clear the noise, to burn the script you never wrote, but were still performing. So let me tell you now, that heartbreak was a doorway. That silence was a sanctuary. That goodbye was a compass. And that moment you thought you wouldn't survive was the moment you started coming home. The end was never the end. It was the point where the story stopped lying, where the mask slipped, the armor cracked, and the real you stepped forward, tender, brave, and no longer afraid of being seen in process. If you're reading this on the edge of some ending, this is your whisper in the dark. This is not where you vanish. This is where you rise, differently, divinely, entirely. And when you stand again, not quickly, not perfectly, but truly, you will feel it, the shift, the turning, not toward a new version of you, but toward the one you were always meant to return to.